Hi everyone, how's it going? Hope you're well. I am going to be talking today about an experience I had yesterday. I was originally going to make this video about a day out in London and oh, the joys of beautiful London, but my day took a really weird turn. So it's turned into a video that's kind of about survival tips of what you need to have in your bag when you are commuting for a day in the city. So simple as that. Let's have a go. So I can already tell my hair is gonna drive me mental because my bangs are my eyes. It's kind of like I'm doing like a Sia thing. So let me just tell you what happened first. I went into London to visit a dear friend who's just had a baby, Jen. So cute, so squishy, this little baby. I just sat there and cradled her for like 2 hours and she was just sleeping in my arms. So sweet. But planned to come back at about 3:30 so I could pick up my son from nursery with plenty of time at like 4:35. Get on the train, start leaving London and get to West Hampstead. I live north of London, and the train stops. And they were like, sorry, we're gonna be here for a while. There's been a fire and the train's not moving. The guy comes on again like 10 minutes later and is like, actually, we're not moving. Like, we're not going anywhere for at least like an hour. So everything ultimately worked out okay because my son was picked up at nursery by a dear friend and went home with her and her daughter and had a good play. And then my mother-in-law picked him up. But what ended up happening was the train was just canceled. It was terminated because there was a really bad fire on the M1 and no trains were running north. So basically, my husband was in London and I was stuck in London and we couldn't get to our son. So luckily we had an action plan in place if something like that happened so our son could be picked up and taken care of. Thank God for in-laws and family. It totally takes a village. But I started to panic on the train a little bit because I looked at my phone and I realized I had like 10% battery left. And we like totally live and die for our phones, don't we? I mean, I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, if my phone dies, I am really in trouble here. So I decided to make this video my top 5 things that you should have with you if you go for a day in the city, just in case you get stuck on a train and your commuting plans are totally thrown into disarray. Or worse yet, I mean, we live in really scary times. If something is happening in the city and you need to have access to a few key things to notify your loved ones that you're okay, to, just have a plan in place for when life happens, basically. These are my top 5 tips of things that you need to have in your bag. So let's get started. So number 1, like I was saying, my phone was dying on the train and instantly I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna know how to get in touch with my friends. I'm not gonna know how to get in touch with my husband. I didn't have his phone number written down. I'm not going to know what time it is, key things like that. So the number 1 most important thing you should always have with you when you go into the city is a charger. That's kind of a no-brainer. Like, have a charger so you can charge your phone. So I was on the train and there was no place to plug my charger in. So a friend of mine last night told me about external power banks. And I guess I've been living under a rock because I had no idea that these even existed, but you can get them like super cheap on Amazon. So I highly recommend external power banks. I think I'll put a link below on Amazon, but I think they're like around £7. And basically what they are, they're these little banks that you just plug into your phone and it'll just buy you like a good couple hours of juice. So if you're in, God forbid, an emergency situation and you need that juice on your phone, or if you're just stuck needing to make other arrangements to get home, you have this extra source of battery power for your phone. Super important because we do hold so much of our lives on our phones and you realize when you're in the situation how lost you are without it. The number 2 thing I would say is to have, and it's so rudimentary, and most people carry this in their bags anyway, but I just didn't yesterday, so I guess every tip helps. It's a pen. So I got to the point where I was like, I need to write down phone numbers. So I borrowed somebody's pen and they actually gave it to me, which was so sweet. It's right here. Thanks, that lady on the train who gave me this pen. It's gonna be quite special to me now because I ended up writing down my friend who was picking up my son, my husband, my mother-in-law, so I could get in touch with those people if I lost power on my phone. But more important than having like a pen and a piece of paper is having like an actual little business card that has your most important numbers written on it. So in my case, it's like my husband, my brother is my emergency contact in the United States, my mother-in-law here. It's really important. And something super cool that they do in the UK, I don't think we do this in the United States, is people will put in their phone their emergency contact. They'll put them as ICE in their phone. So if somebody needs to go through their contacts, say there is an emergency, somebody can just go into their phone and it'll have like ICE husband Andy, and that's in case of emergency. Now I have to tell you a funny story. I first moved over here and my sister-in-law, I saw her phone and it said ICE and it was her husband. And then I was just like, oh, that's really cute. They have like a little nickname for each other and he's Ice. It sounded like a superhero. But then I saw my mother-in-law's phone and she had Ice for my husband. And I was like, what is this Ice thing? Like, it's like so bizarre that they have these weird nicknames and they all happen to be the same. And then they explained it to me. It's in case of emergency. I mean, it just makes sense. But I think that's so brilliant. You should definitely have ICE and somebody's name in case of emergency. Now in the UK, it's pretty common knowledge to people here, but to expats, we're a little late to get the memo. But I think it's a really good idea. So on that piece of paper where I'm writing names and numbers, I would have ICE, Andy husband, and number. So if somebody did, if there was a situation where somebody needed to get in touch with a contact of mine, they could go in my wallet and just see ICE, Andy husband. The next thing that is kind of important that you wouldn't think about is wearing a watch. I mean, I guess you can ask people what time it is, but it was really weird. Yesterday I was like, God, my phone dies. I'm not even gonna know what time it is. And yeah, you can go ask people, but I don't wanna be having to always worry about asking people. I don't wear a watch because my phone is my watch. And I always joke when people are like, why don't you wear a watch? Because I have my phone. I don't need one. But now I'm thinking maybe I do need some sort of watch just in case I get in a situation where I don't have my phone. So I have that point of reference to know what time it is. So I recommend wearing a watch. And it looks fashionable. There are lots of nice ones on the market. The next one is comfortable shoes. It's really good to have comfortable shoes in case you get in a bind and you have to walk a long distance. When I lived in New York City, I was home at the time, thank goodness, but 9/11 happened and I have a friend who was at work and she only had heels on that day because her commute to work, she commuted from a friend's house or something, but she couldn't get home because of just everything that was going on in the chaos. So she ended up having to walk like almost 100 blocks in heels for a while, but then she just had to take her shoes off because she didn't have comfortable shoes. So she was like, from that day forward, any job I go to, I have a pair of trainers or sneakers if you're in the US. Trainers UK, sneakers US. She has a pair of sneakers that she keeps under her desk, just so if something did happen that she needed to evacuate and had to be on her feet for a long time, she had comfortable shoes. So I think it's good if you are going into town to make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes, or just make sure you have some comfortable flats or something really compact in your bag that you can put on if you need to in a bind. The last one I thought of was, while sitting there waiting for the train to move yesterday, was water. I mean, I guess you can go to a store and buy water, but you just don't need that extra hassle if you're trying to figure out how you're going to get home, work through logistics of everything going on. It's better just to have a bottle of water with you, and I recommend having a metal water bottle or something that is good to the environment, not plastic, if you can get away with not having a plastic water bottle. You just want to have stuff that if you get in a bind and you're not able to get home quickly, you're able to keep going, keep refueling, and get through what can be a very stressful situation. And it's so funny, I just never thought that was going to be the topic of my video today, but I got in this crazy bind yesterday where I was stuck on a train that eventually got canceled. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how to get to a station that was going to get me home. I was just kind of stuck in the middle of London. I mean, there are worse places to be stuck. Don't worry, I made it to the pub and I survived for a few hours until I was able to get home. But there was that bit of panic for the last 5 minutes before, I was like, my phone's gonna die. I have 5%. What I ultimately did, just for, to round out the story, is I went into a Costa Coffee and sat and just charged my phone because I did have a charger for about 20 minutes. But still, that was cutting into the 20 minutes that I could have tried to get home to get to my son and tried to figure out a plan of action to get home. Instead, I had to go sit in a coffee shop for 20 minutes. So I guess the big top line is make sure your phone's charged before you take a long journey, which I failed at that. So if anybody out there has tips or tricks for things you should always have in your bag when you are going for a day in the city, so if you get stuck in a bind or just your essentials for a day in the city, leave a comment, let me know, and we can all help each other out. That's it for today, guys. I will post probably again next Tuesday. So if you like what you see, please subscribe, leave a comment below, share the video, do whatever you'd like to do. You can also find me on Instagram at Eileen Vincett, and I will see you guys soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye.